And we are live, gentlemen. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good.
Good man, how you doing,
Doing good, man. Trying to stay away from all these people protesting in
Felix?
Columbus.
How you doing, brother?
Good.
Are they protesting there too?
I mean, they're protesting at the state capitol, which is understandable. You know, people need to get back to work, pay the bills, because companies, mortgage companies, everyone's they still want their money. So I get
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. Now, I hear you, man. Let's introduce the people here. We got a very special show here. We got our man chatter investigative reporter back on the show, Felix, Mister Senor Limpio Asensio, on the show, and we got a very special guest, man. This is one of always want to give him a better introduction. This is the only person I know, my stepdad, that'll come on the show to not defend, because it's not going to be an attacking conversation, but to discuss his conservative views differing to our whatever you want, progressive, liberal, democratic, whatever, however you want to do it. I always appreciate the conversation, man. Like I told you off air, you're the podcast that we did together 2.5, maybe 3 years ago now, because I think I still lived in the apartment, was one of my highest rated ones, most listens I've had, because it shows that the quote unquote left and right can have a conversation. So how you doing, Pete, man? How you holding up during this crazy time?
Doing good. Working. That's a blessing. Um, so everything's well. Everybody in the house is doing well. You know, my daughter Desiree has been on lockdown for going on a month now. She's not going crazy yet, so things are going good. Thank you.
I like how you added that yet in there.
Well, you know.
Hey, man, it's good to have you on. So, as always, before we get into I guess I don't want to say, the political discussions about the whole protest and everything. Yesterday, Felix and I were on a group chat, a gaming chat, and he said that he had some brand new investigative news for us. So tell us, because Pete, I don't know if you watched last week. Pete let us know, Felix let us know that Top Gun is a gay love story of a movie, right? Based on a conversation that Quentin Tarantino had with a reporter,
Okay.
because it tells you, what was it that the guy, that even Tom Cruise in the end didn't leave with the girl, he just left off on his bike, and he was more emotional when his
the
when his buddy died. Yeah, go ahead, Felix.
what's it called? The subliminals of that movie. They're very striking. Once you go
Yeah,
back and
yeah,
see it after, like, what is it, 30 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
30? Yeah, it's been like
yeah,
30 years
yeah,
since Top Gun
almost.
came out. You start looking back on it,
yeah.
and it's pretty interesting. You know,
Yeah,
he's,
you get more oiled up shirtless scenes of Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer than you do of the love scenes with Tom Cruise and what's her name, Kelly? Was it Kelly McGinnis? Like,
mm-hmm.
it's not really a
Mm.
love scene, right? It's just like a
Kelly,
bunch of like cut. They
Yeah,
they cut from one scene
yeah,
to another, and the next thing you know, there's like doves in the air, and then he's riding off in his motorcycle,
yeah.
and
Alone
you're trying to figure
sounds
out what
great.
just happened.
And the guy they never had a love scene in the movie, like him and the leading female cast. There's a lot of scenes of him in the bathroom in his underwear and several guys talking to him. I don't know if that's like a typical thing in military locker rooms. I know when I'm in a locker room, I don't want to be talking to anybody. That's just me. But, like, that's not the time to chit chat. I'm just in there trying to shower, get dressed, and get out. It's not the time to shoot the breeze for me. Maybe outside in the lobby, but not. Yeah, but it's all those things. So I got a couple other things that I wanted to mention today that we might find interesting. Uh, several. No, there was a point of time in my life. Remember when Kickstarter was like a real active thing, and people were like trying to crowdfund a whole bunch of stuff,
Right.
products, different things. At one time, I helped invest and crowdfund a movie, and that movie is getting ready to come out now. So I wanted to share the link with you so you could kind of play it and we could kind of talk about it because it's pretty interesting. So how do you want me to send you this link, Jonathan?
Is it a long link? I can put it up here and I can bring it up on the screen and share my
Okay.
screen.
It
Send
is
to me
Instagram
through,
link, so I could send it to you. I'll put
yeah,
it in
through
our group chat.
in our group chat and Facebook, and I can pull it up.
Okay. So give me a minute. I gotta find it. Where is our group chat? Oh, here it is.
Okay.
So the movie's a comedy.
Okay.
I think he gives an intro of what it's like. It's a it's a hood guy that's been in jail for several years, and on his return back into society, he becomes a life coach.
Okay.
So he has a lot of insightful things about life.
All right. Give me a second. Let me see if I can pull that up.
And a couple of interesting things about the crowdfunding he did. There was several levels, depending on how much you donated. You can get like a producer tag, executive producer tag,
Okay.
or if you donated enough, you can actually get a spot in the movie, which is pretty cool. You ready?
Give me 1 sec. I'm trying to pull up this link. For whatever reason, the group chat's not opening up. And Benjamin just left us. Again,
Uh-oh.
we just got to remind everyone, Ben
That's
is living in 1865 out there in the
the
boondocks.
DSL line.
So if he doesn't have the rope and the cans lined up exactly right, a tree branch might interfere with the signal.
No, what we got to do is when he drops like that, you got to show the AOL reconnect thing.
I'm gonna have to bring that up for sure. Yeah, yeah, because he was asking
Make
me if
The dial-up one.
make the modem sound.
Yeah.
yeah, he was asking me if we had if I had good connection. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good. Then he gave me a sad face, and then he dropped off. He got really pixelated, and then he fell off. And
There he is.
I think he's back.
I don't appreciate you guys making fun of my internet all the time. Pete, I caught that joke.
I was hoping,
No,
yeah, I was hoping he wouldn't come back, but what can you do? Let me all right, let me copy the link address. And let's see where that takes us. I'm afraid to go to this.
No, you're gonna like it. It's funny.
And Benjamin fell off again.
This
That's
is good.
okay.
We can show the video while he reconnects.
Yeah, let's see if this video will come up. What in the world? Why am I seeing this and not the link that I went to? Okay, I think it's up now. Yeah. I'm gonna... Okay, it's paused. I think this is it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen with you guys so you can see it. Let me know if you can actually see this. You may not be able to hear it though, so I'll have to change
That's fine.
the output. No. So here's the screen. And you should be getting it here in a second. All right, Ben came back, so let me add him. This is interesting times. All right. Ben, are you back? All right, let's see how true that is.
Don't be too impressed. I think it was like $20. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I was like,
what do you get for?
well,
So after
I
the credits roll for
I-
20 minutes, you get your name at the bottom.
get the name at the bottom, but literally what I did was all I did was prepay for the movie because I also get the movie when it's released. That's all, really, and probably I don't get a credit at the end of the movie, but I get a credit somewhere like IMDb or something. Dug deep. But really, I just wanted to look for the movie.
All right.
All right, let me see if I can share the screen capture again. And Felix, you let me know if this is the right one. Let me send it to live.
Let's just say Prison Logic. Yep, that's it.
That's the one.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna
Neglected
play
cat.
it.
Yeah, play it.
And you let me know when you want me to pause it. All right. I don't
Yeah.
know if you guys will be able to hear it. So what I'm gonna have to do is
Yeah.
change up the audio on this, so maybe it comes out of my speakers instead of my headphones, because I think it's the only way you guys will be able to hear the audio. I'm not sure
All
if
right.
it'll work out too well, but we'll see. So I'm not gonna capture this audio here. Let me play it to see if that actually will work. I'm not sure. Damn, it's still coming out of my headphones, so I don't think you'll hear it.
A lot of people want to hear my story.
We hear it.
A lot of people want to hear
No,
how
we
I
hear it.
got. They want to know how a nigga ended up in jail. You know what I'm saying? A nigga of my caliber ended up in prison in the first place. You know, the gas prices that went up. You know what I'm saying? Nigga got busted siping some gas out of a motherfucking school bus in the parking lot. Okay, you know, and the cop pulled up and called me. You know, and it was a misdemeanor, but then it escalated to a felony because I was smoking a cigarette, therefore endangering the lives of the kids that were still on the bus. I didn't really realize little motherfucker was on there. 626. Oh hell no. Not on my cell phone. Last time I got one of them calls, I called them up. They told me, they said I won a prize. What I win? They said you won the complete Ginsu knife set and it came with the bamboo wood block. And they said it had a knife sharpener with it. I went to pick my shit up. These motherfuckers slapped handcuffs on me. You know what I'm saying? For outstanding warrants. Not again. Y'all just hold tight for a second, all right? I just got it.
Wanda Jackson.
My nephew used to go to that
That's crazy.
school, but then the Koreans took it over. This the issue. This the issue that a lot of motherfuckers don't try to understand. I'm trying to give y'all legitimate information. If people are willing to make a documentary about you, it must say something about your heart, who you are as an individual. As a whole, you know what I'm saying, is motherfuckers don't think just simply because of the fact that I'm flashy, you know what I'm saying, I'm good looking, you know what I'm saying, I wear chains and shit, you know what I'm saying, I can't be no motherfucking professional, you know what I'm saying, contraire mon frere. Homie, get some change?
No camera, no smoking in the store.
Menthol. They ain't filming you, they filming me. Life coach, motivational speaker. How much for the Swisher Sweets?
It's $1.
Hey, can you check the back for hypoallergenic cat mix?
All we have is what you see.
Hypoallergenic cats need hypoallergenic food for a reason. It's not optional.
Sorry, man, there's nothing in the bag.
Forget it. Sorry to disturb you, sir.
Whatever.
Okay. Obviously, it's rooted in something deep in the motherfucking feline, okay? Excuse me. I noticed you was having a bit of a dilemma. My name's Tijuana Jackson, motivational speaker, life coach.
How come they're filming me?
Oh, then, guys. Cut. Okay, got that out the way. What seems to be getting your hormones so riled up?
I'm the worst mother in the world. My cat's hungry.
That's not true, okay? Look, it's not your fault that this establishment is insensitive to the needs of your pussy, cat. Furthermore, I believe an investigation of your self-image is what's in order.
What's the matter with my self-image?
It's a beautiful thing, okay? Just needs to be nurtured in the same way that you nurture your cat. Do you wash it?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you play with it?
of course I do.
Do you stroke it? Does it purr?
What?
Okay, let me put it this way, okay? Got a paleness in your skin, dark
Tijuana
circles,
Jackson, baby.
a hunch in your posture, moderately excessive weight. I'm led to believe you're neglecting something other than your cat. Do you honestly consider yourself to be an attractive woman right now? I mean, I don't, okay?
Fuck you.
No, I don't mean, I don't. Okay.
Fuck you!
No, wait a minute, you misunderstood.
Fuck
No,
you!
I'm breaking you down to build you back up, okay? Don't take offense to it. Take it personally, it's not gonna work. Prime example of what I'm talking about, okay? Drinking soda. God knows what else. You know what? I think that the lesson that we learned here today is that you can lead a feline to the water, but if that feline don't want to see its reflection, it ain't gonna drink. Man, honestly, you can't save everybody. I think some people just meant to be fucked up.
I thought Christians don't curse.
What make you think I'm Christian?
See, you got a cross on.
This ain't no cross, nigga. This T for TJ. Some change, homie. Hey, somebody paid TJ? What'd I win? With the bamboo wood block. Fuck this.
Yeah, he's not voting for that again.
If you would like to receive screening updates
That's
from the
it.
feature film Prison Logic, please click the link in the bio and get on my mailing list, and I will notify you of when, where.
That's
Prison
crazy.
Logic.
Yep.
Yeah, I seen those clips on Instagram and social media before.
Yeah, he's been working on that movie for a while now, but it's getting ready to come out soon.
Yeah, Romani Malco. Yeah, shout out to him, man.
Yeah,
Funny dude.
he's a funny
Real
dude.
funny dude.
I follow him on Facebook. And he's hilarious. He's a pretty inspirational dude if you really listen to a lot of his videos. He's a lot into like self improvement and stuff like that.
Yep.
So it's pretty
You know,
interesting.
for sure.
Tijuana Jackson is like his alter ego.
Yeah. For sure, man. That's crazy shit. That's crazy. But yeah, man. That was wild. Yeah, I was having technical difficulties as I usually do with my damn internet. I couldn't hear anything that was going on. It was all scattered, so I had to get my dial up right. So I apologize for me jumping off the video, and because I couldn't do nothing, I had to I'm actually logged into my phone. It's the only way I have any kind of stable internet. It's crazy.
Hey, Ben, if you want, I can still send you some. I have like 8 or 9 Net Zero CDs from like back in 1998, 99, free internet. I think
There
each
it is.
CD gave you about an hour of free internet. I can send those over to you.
I remember when I used to raid the mailboxes in the building, collect all those joints.
Yeah.
Like a week free internet.
Wow, dude, it feels like I'm on Internet Explorer sometimes, man. It's annoying as shit. But yeah, let's get into it, guys. All right, so obviously, the big news of the week is all these protests. John, you were mentioning earlier that that you're having protests actually in Ohio. I guess the most popular one, the one that people are talking the most about is the one in Michigan.
Yeah.
So what do you think about, how's it like affecting? Is it anywhere near you? Like, what do you think about the whole thing? And then we'll just go in a circle and talk about it overall in general, or a square, however you see it. So we'll start with you, Jay.
Okay. Well, one, this whole thing, and again, I kind of compared what's going on now to what happened in 2008 with the housing bubble bursting. Like that market just blew up. I think I purchased a house right after or during that era, that time. But I remember thinking like this stuff is not affecting. It's not affecting me because I was in the army at the time. My wife was in the army.
Mm-hmm.
We were employed. We had health care, all that stuff. And I was seeing how it affected just about everyone else. And
Here.
but we were pretty much unaffected. It was business as usual. And so for the last what 5 or so weeks that we've been on lockdown, I've been working from home every single day.
Mm.
And it's the same kind of like the same concept. Um, with the exception of adjusting to how we get our groceries. If I go out for those first few weeks when I was in the grocery store, I would have to change out of everything as soon as I got home.
Yep. Yep.
And so the folks that are protesting now in Columbus at the state capitol, I get where they're coming from, right? Because they got to get back to work. They have to. A lot of them aren't working from home. So they got to pay for their bills, groceries, light bills, mortgage. I know a lot of utility companies now are giving people a break. You have to call them and let them know that you're not working, etc. But then you don't have to make payments until you're able to find a job. But yeah, I mean, people are trying to get back to work. Now, having said that, I understand it. There are still those social distancing rules, right? The picture that I saw of these folks protesting in Columbus was taken from the inside of that state building, and when I looked at it at first, I thought it was like a New York subway. I didn't know it was in Columbus because it was just people. Someone had their face up against the glass on the door, and there's someone else on top of that person. They're within inches of each other. So it just like I get wanting to protest peacefully and come back and make a point, but if we're still in the middle of this thing, if we're in the part where we're supposed to be peaking, those social distancing things should still be followed. If we believe that this is a real thing, that this is a real virus, that it's affecting Americans, etc.
Right.
So that's where I didn't see the common sense because I've told you before, this is scary. The fact that the government says, "Hey, we're going to shut down," and we just do what they tell us to do. It's a scary thing. It goes back to that's why I started listening and reading to 1984 again. It's pretty Orwellian.
No.
And I understand as Americans we don't like that. I was talking to Peter about that earlier. Like we're all about American individualism.
Yep.
And so having the government tell us, hey, you guys are staying in, you have to do as you're told. At some point, people are going to, they're going to say enough is enough.
Yeah, I got you. What were you saying, Felix?
Oh, John is echoing really bad. Oh.
No.
I don't know if it's John I hear it now when I'm talking to.
I am hearing an echo right now. Huh. Let me see if it's echoing on these Facebook pages.
We'll figure this out. Please hold while we try to figure out the technical difficulties. Sorry.
Let's see if this is going to work out better. I'm not sure what the issue is. Is it better?
No. Yeah, that sounds better. How about you? How can you hear him? Can you hear him good?
Yeah.
All right, Felix, you up, man. So what do you think about the whole the protests and the Midwest, really, right? Because I don't know if anybody down here in Florida is protesting, because I think we're pretty much back to open. They're already like rushing the beaches in Jacksonville, like the ocean's going somewhere.
I have a problem with us restricting protesting. I don't agree with what they're protesting about, but nobody's restricting their right to do it, so that's fine. Also, I noticed from the videos, a lot of those people are not wearing face masks. So that's going to be a haven for another outbreak.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's going to be mostly in state capitals now, where they're going to be making decisions on how to continue going forward. And it's kind of like they're protesting their right to be locked down, but they're also contributing to the lockdown going forward.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's like kind of a catch-22. You know what I mean? And also, it's if you really look at the videos, it's really like a Trump rally.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right. I mean, let's not have a veil over what your intentions are. The protests, it really is a Trump rally to be on TV.
It was actually it was actually started by like I know the one in Michigan was started by a conservative coalition. Like, look, I want to echo what you say too. Like, I'm not telling them like that they shouldn't protest. Like John said, like they're trying to get back to work and all these different things. But it's just, and it's also weird because like I also don't want to tell them how to protest, but at least be a little bit conscious of the fact that like there's a highly contagious virus going around, that you're not just putting yourself at risk, like home to whatever small town you're from, because I was reading an article that said that people came from hours away that were started like at 11 and traffic starting like 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, trying to get there already. So if they're coming back to their small town where they probably didn't have that, probably had 1 or 2, maybe 3 cases, you might possibly be coming back with it, and then you become again like the outbreak monkey thing. You know what I mean? Where it becomes a bigger issue. There's a lot of vibration. I hear something loud, John.
Hey, so I was hearing Ben just fine, but when Felix was speaking, I was hearing static, or not static, an echo from Felix's end. I'm not sure.
I heard it from your end.
How about now?
Like when I saw you touch the thing.
It's probably, it's sensitive, and I don't have the shock mount, so it's probably what it was. Hey, by the way, though, before Ben continues that thought, Felix, I don't appreciate you liking that comment about Rob made, that I'm no longer needed on this podcast. Just go ahead and keep Peter and Felix on and kick me out. I really don't appreciate that.
I meant to do the laughing. I don't know how to work Facebook that well.
No, but I was kind of done with, and I wanted to hand it off to Peter, man. Like I want to know what you think about all this.
Well, there's a lot of moving parts in there. I think one thing that's kind of surprising me, guys, are either missed or just didn't bring it up, is that Governor Whitmer in Michigan overstepped her bounds quite a few times and did some kind of ridiculous things. So that's one part. You have a reaction to that. But I would bet the farm that the organizations behind the rally and citing the First Amendment was probably trying to bait her into shutting it down. And then it would have probably been a push to remove her from office. That's just my kind of independent point of view of stuff like that. Whenever you have organizers, whether it's conservative or George Soros or whoever, there's always a reason why they're doing the things that they're doing, and just shooting off your mouth in the face of danger. Some people will do that, but whoever was behind getting the people together and organizing it, I would think it would be to push the First Amendment issue.
Hold on, we hear echo, John. All right, sorry, Peter, go ahead.
No, that was pretty much just the untouched angle. Was just that I would want to know if they were trying to push the First Amendment issue to oust the governor.
Well, yeah, like if you're saying like if it was like a political ploy to push the governor into a certain corner, to have her overreact and then react. Yeah, John, that echo's coming from you, bro. As soon as you hit that mic, it's just I hear like a bunch of wind tunnel. So maybe you just mute it the rest of the podcast and we'll handle it. You know what I mean?
Now?
Like, because yeah, that's a lot better. But yeah, that's actually a pretty good. I mean, obviously, like there's nuance to all of this, right? Like the protesters' reaction to it and the governor's reaction to it, and things like that. It's all one thing that's like, oh, these protesters are wrong. Like the only way that it is the fact that when I read an article, I forget where it was from. I think John sent it to me, or I sent it to John. It was saying that like people came from like rural parts of Michigan, right, where there's not high of cases. When you go into a highly concentrated area, that's what I'm thinking about, right? Like it's not like politics are going to politic. They're going to do whatever they do, and they'll have their speeches and their press conferences. But it's the small towns like where I live now that aren't spoken about, and they have those small towns in Michigan. So like now, if you are around somebody that is asymptomatic, then you go back to your house and you spread it to them. But so you still have gatherings in your neighborhood and spread it to them, and then it becomes this bigger and bigger thing. Then those small. Let me tell you right now, I live in a very small town. There's no matter. The closest hospital is 35 minutes away.
I read the average medical facility in those rural areas are more than 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that's kind of baked into this is that the projected number of fatalities has gone from several million down to 60,000. So
right.
If you're living in an area that's largely unaffected and you see that's a dramatic drop. I don't know what the percentage is on that, but it's a dramatic drop. So now you've got people starting to think conspiracy theory, who knows what they're thinking. So like I said, it's a complicated thing you're talking about that has a lot of moving parts. There is no one answer to things like this, but every single thing that we're talking about are all little pieces of the puzzle that contribute to why something like that happens.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm more concerned that all these people are going to go back to their rural towns and create an outbreak that they're not going to be able to manage in their very limited medical facilities.
Yeah.
They are very. I mean, there's stories about that now, even before the pandemic, that a lot of these medical facilities only have one doctor on staff and very limited beds and maybe one ventilator. So it's like,
these rural hospitals are already kind of at a breaking point, right? They're understaffed.
They're always at a breaking point. They're always at a breaking point. Always. I mean, even regular hospitals are, because they're based on their business structure of being 99% efficient. So they don't have extra beds or extra anything. They're running at exactly what they need for their
need. So when something like this happens,
they're like, oh, we're fucked.
They won't be able to handle it.
Yeah.
But Peter brought something up that's pretty important. I think I read, and I don't know if it was ProPublica, where I read it, but that at least one of the organizations that was behind, these pro First Amendment rallies, has ties to Betsy DeVos or her husband. So I mean, like you said, whether it's her, whether it's Soros, whether it's whatever, it's somehow politically motivated, right? There's always someone behind that's going to benefit from it, and the people that are out there doing it, they don't really understand how they're being. They're there because they want to express their First Amendment right, but they don't see the other the after effects or how they're being manipulated. And like you said, it could be a push to see how the governor was going to react, to then have an excuse to be able to force her out of office or resign or whatever the case may be. So
I mean, I'm all for them protesting. I just wish they were a little bit more safer. You saw very few facial masks, and it's that makes me feel like they believe this is not a real thing. And I could tell you, me personally, I know people who are affected with it, who are still recovering with it, and who are almost on death's door with it. So, but again, if you live in a rural America, you're not seeing this firsthand yet. But now they might with these protests.
And we still don't have a grip on the numbers. I was listening to Larry Elder out in Los Angeles. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's a black conservative radio show host. Pretty interesting fellow. But about a week ago, he had a piece where he was talking with a cardiologist who said there was a 40 to 60% drop in heart attacks in the country. And what panned out of that was that if you had the coronavirus in you and died of a heart attack or had a heart attack, it wasn't being counted as a heart attack. So obviously, you're not going to have, let's say, chop it in half, 50% less heart attacks because of the coronavirus. That makes no sense. So for whatever reasons, I don't care why they're doing it. The numbers are, I was a data analyst too. The numbers that we're looking at are really messy right now. It's gotten political, so people are trying to stretch the numbers to meet whatever narrative that they want to go with. And it's going to take a while for us to get some rational people in here who just know how to count things and don't try to, run up the scoreboard for this side or the other side to get a good grip on how fatal it is and how easily it spreads. And, unfortunately with these protests, I guess we'll find out, or unfortunately for them, I guess we'll find out how good or bad of an idea that was. Some people are going to find out the hard way.
Yeah, the worst way.
Yeah. I mean, I can speak on my own personal experience because I know someone who has it, and this person was actually hospitalized for coronavirus. I don't know if he was on the way to recovery, but the hospital let him go after a few days back home. Now he's back at the hospital because they found some blood clots in his lungs, and he still has coronavirus. And now he has a weak heart. So if he dies from a heart attack, is that a heart attack related death, or is that corona?
That's a good point. All I was bringing up with what Larry Elder said is we've got a mess when it comes to numbers.
Mm-hmm. But it makes sense. So if that person died, would he die? If he died from a heart attack, should we count it as a heart attack count? I don't think so because he got a heart attack because it was corona related.
Corona induced. Yep.
Yeah, corona induced because it attacked his lungs and he couldn't breathe. But fortunately now he's on blood thinners. He's making great strides. This all just happened in the last few hours, so I'm kind of very happy about it.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's been a rough morning for me in my house. I was talking with my friend, messaging with him, and just trying to comfort him and give him some strength through all this.
That's crazy, man. So you said you've had friends that have recovered from the coronavirus. Like, what did?
Oh yeah,
I guess
I have friends.
What do they tell you? What do they tell you that it's like, man? Because I don't.
All right,
my family personally hasn't been like. I think nobody I personally know has had it yet, so I don't know that conversation.
The first person I knew who had it was my best friend in New York, who I mentioned as a police officer.
Right.
I'm assuming he got it on duty. He says he's very careful even before all this. He's always told me I use masks at work and I use gloves whenever I apprehend somebody because he's a transit police officer. So he deals with a lot of vagrants and stuff, subway systems, and he says, they're kind of dirty, they're usually sick, so he's always wears his mask and his gloves. And I told him, so how did you get it? He's like, I don't know because I'm always very careful. And the funny thing is, if you go, they got that one time go like that, that could be it.
Hey, Felix.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm hearing an echo as well. Not when Ben speaks, but I'm hearing it, and now I'm hearing it now when I speak, but I didn't hear it before. What's that?
Want me to refresh the page and reconnect?
Yeah, I didn't want to cut you off. I mean, in the middle of that story, you're talking about your friend, and maybe we all should kind of just drop off and reconnect it real quick.
What I want to try here, and if you can hear me without echo, I just switched off of the microphone I have here, and I went to the default on that system, so the built-in mic in the laptop.
Okay. How about now? Do you hear me now?
You're good. Now I hear an echo from Peter. Yeah.
Maybe should we
I don't
all
hear
restart?
Peter echoing at all.
Yeah,
I don't hear.
We're gonna let me restart this rendezvous session, and then we'll all reconnect. So just reconnect to the link in about 20 seconds.
All right.
Peter, you're in. Felix, you're in.
Mhm.
And we're still live. I didn't cut the feed. I just wanted to make sure that.
I actually asked my friend if he wanted to come on and talk on the show, but he mentioned that with his job, he's not really allowed to do any unauthorized press, which I understood. But
Right.
told me his story, and I'm very close to him, so he gave me all the facts as he saw them. So I'm willing to share them. He actually went to the doctor, and he went to urgent care, and he went in because he had a fever of 103. Something like that, 101, 103, in that range. It was high. And when he went in, the doctor was like, "Why do you have a fever?" And he's like, "I don't know. You're the doctor. You tell me why I have a fever. I don't know why I have a fever." And he's like, "Well, what have you been doing?" He's like, "I haven't been doing anything. I just been going to work." And he was like, "Well, if you have a fever and you don't have any other symptoms, you should be fine." And then he was like, "Well, I think I have corona and I want to get tested." She was like, "Well, you don't have any other symptoms, so we can't really test you for that." And then he said, "Well," and then she asked him, just out of curiosity, what's your line of work?" He said, "Oh, I'm a police officer." She was like, "Oh, you're a police officer?" He's like, "Yeah." She was like, "Yeah, we're going to need to test you." And then gave him the test and sent him home and told him to quarantine for 2 weeks. His test came back 7 days later, positive. But ever since that first day, he hasn't had a fever. He said he's had some shortness of breath because I hear it when I video chat with him.
Right.
Like he'll do like that. And this is a very healthy guy. He's always been a very healthy guy. He used to play basketball when he was younger. You know, he's a very fit gentleman. And I was just like, "Dude, why are you catching your breath? What are we doing this talking on the phone?" He said, "I don't know. I just run out of breath." I was like, "See, that's part of the symptoms because it's attacking your lungs." I was like, after all this is said and done, I think you should get an x-ray on your lungs and just make sure that you don't have any lung damage. But during that time, his dad also came down with coronavirus. Not because of him, but because he lives in Spanish Harlem. It's one of the denser populations in New York.
Right.
And his father's a cab driver. So I'm assuming that's where he got it from. And he's the person that's actually had a really bad time with it. He's a 72-year-old gentleman. And he's fighting for his life right now. And then the other person yeah.
No, I was just going to say, and we talked about this before we went on, but one of the things you got to take in consideration that both places that you were mentioning are considered, downstate in New York, which were, if it were considered a country, would be number one on lists above China, everything, with infection rates. And some of the reason, and you have to take this into account, is when you live vertically, you're going to get on an elevator, you're going to go up a stairway, or if it's not so much on the streets, but what if you're going down taking a subway? And it's like being in a plane. We could all envision that because you're in a tube breathing the same air. So there's a level of risk inherent in a place where people live vertically and work vertically, and that just there's no other choice. It's not spread out.
Yeah, that's why the lockdown is incredibly important over there right now.
Yeah, because you can't ignore that aspect of it. I mean, you take other cities that the majority of people don't live in big, tall buildings in confined spaces, and they could be pretty densely populated, but still not be breathing that elevator air or touching the escalator handrails and all that stuff. So this stuff's all complicated, but that one thing in particular caught my eye immediately. Of New York is going to get hammered because it's almost all vertical. And
then the other person I know lives about a mile away from me here in St. Pete. Well, I don't live in St. Pete. I live in Pinellas Park, but he lives in St. Pete, which is just a mile down the road. And he got it. He doesn't know how he got it. I assume it was when he ordered groceries and the person delivered the groceries to him had it, and he got it from that. But
and didn't wipe down the groceries.
I don't know.
Wipe down my
I didn't ask him. I sent everybody. I didn't send you guys. I posted a video on how to handle your groceries,
Mhm.
and how to bring them in the house, and how to sanitize them. How do you handle takeout and stuff like that? I sent out that video on my Facebook. I've been urging everybody to watch it and follow it. In this house, we've been doing it ever since we found out about the virus. Sanitizing all our products that come from the outside. We do it right outside the door, and any bags and anything go right into the trash, and we wipe everything down with disinfectant spray.
Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
watch the video, but I think I ordered pizza. That's the only time I've ordered anything, and I
Mhm.
leave my garage door open, and then from the garage door there's a laundry room slash mud room, and then the house. So,
Yeah.
like right there, we kind of transfer everything to the pans, reheat it. Groceries, same thing. We just leave them at the garage, and then we wipe them down, we clean them. Everything stays in that mud room, and then once it's been sanitized, we move it over and put it away.
Good idea. Same thing with fruit. If it's like a fruit with a skin, you can take it right into your soapy water, wash them, scrub them down in there, and let them rinse them off, and then let them dry.
I do have a suggestion since we're going through this pandemic right now, and I don't think anybody would really miss Rob Diaz, right? He keeps talking shit here on the on Facebook, saying I'm just a help. So I think we should throw him out there on one of these Jacksonville beaches amongst the infected.
Dude, how crazy is that, man? I don't understand. Like, okay, look, I get it. I get being cooped up in the house, right? I get it. We all get a little stir crazy, but the ocean isn't going anywhere, bro. Like, that's the first place. Like, the ocean's been here for billions of years. It'll be there, you know what I mean, in a week, in 2 weeks. Just wait, and to rush and to see it. Imagine making a getting stuck in traffic to go to the beach, and then be like, hey man, I might catch a virus, but I got to catch these waves first. That doesn't make any sense, bro. Any sense at all. Just like, even now, like, let's say you don't believe this is true, right? Let's say you believe it's all controlling it, all that stuff. Cool. People are still dying. The numbers are, you know what I mean? We'll get the numbers probably in a year or two when they've really done the analysis on who had what and so on and so forth. But why, if there's a 1% chance that you could catch, and then you might be fine, but your dad isn't fine or your grandparent isn't fine. You know what I mean? Like, that's I guess just so irresponsible. Like, from just overall, like, you have politicians like the guy from the governor of Georgia saying, "Oh, I didn't know it could be transmitted if the person was asymptomatic." You don't, okay, if you know that, you don't say that out loud and like put the speakerphone to your ignorance, right? And then just not close anything down after that. Like, if there's your job at the most is to protect and give people correct information. If you're learning stuff 3 months later that everybody on this podcast knew 3 months ago, and I always say, this is the slogan I have for this show, right? We're just assholes on the internet. We're just people who post stuff and share stuff to our individual Facebooks. We don't make any laws, send any policies, and nothing we say is, nobody's ever gonna be like, oh man, you know what? Ben was right or Peter was right with you. Nobody's ever gonna have that moment. We'll have discussions. So, like, for people to not have those moments to be like, hey man, look, the beaches will be open, be cautious, and it's also putting first responders at risk. You're putting police officers, fire department, nurses, doctors, all these people just to go to the beach or to test in a very small area and have your foot up against the glass. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I understand being unhappy. I understand all of it, but I don't get the fact that you just want to willingly ignore the fact that you might be okay, but people next to you might not.
Well, let me throw this at you.
Oh, go ahead, Peter.
You've got some people, especially if they're younger, maybe they live in a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment, and they've been cooped up with their kids for a month. Well, I'm telling you, it's not just a matter of it being annoying or whatever. I mean, there are probably people that are hanging on by a thread. The kids are stirring worse than they ever had. They're fighting with each other. So I can understand wanting to get them out of the house. Now, let's take into consideration where we live. I live in a house. Ben, you live in a house. I don't know about you guys, but they live in houses. That in and of itself is such a huge blessing. You
Yeah,
can
right.
step out of your house. You could bring the groceries in. Number one, leave it in your garage, and
Mhm.
out. Wipe the meat down, put that in the refrigerator, and let it sit over there. Well,
Mhm.
if you live in an apartment, you leave your grocery outside. You probably won't have groceries.
Yep.
So there's a lot of different layers of stress that people are going through. But I agree with you, Ben, that it's stupid then to go and expose your family. But I do understand the need to get out because I see people walking by and riding their bikes very safely all day
Yep.
long. You're stuck in an apartment complex. You don't
can't do
have
that.
that, and that's been
Yeah.
going on for them for a month now.
Yeah, I joked the other
Yeah,
day
no,
that
that
I haven't walked my dog this much
as much.
as much as
Yeah.
I've walked them these 5 weeks because
Uh,
you do whatever you
yeah.
can to get out of the house, and if we see people approaching, we cross to the other side of the street. Since there's some articles, papers released about actually being outside supposedly is more dangerous because these droplets travel in the airstream of someone that's running or someone that's walking fast or cycling or whatever.
Yeah, it
So
increases the 6 feet
yeah, the
ra-
6 feet to
radius.
15 to 30
Yeah,
or 65, and so
yeah.
but yeah,
No,
so
yeah.
and the best place to do that is outside to be not in a vertical or in a confined space like an apartment complex where you have that freedom. Which is why I think it's important that the beaches were opened up. The parks here were never closed, at least where I live in Ohio, so that people could go out and be safe outdoors and be able to keep that social distance. Uh,
Mhm.
but then you have people going out, which they should, because everyone's going stir crazy, but then they're not
Mhm.
abiding by that distancing, because it seems like it's possible that people don't think it's real. Uh, Maybe because like I don't know anyone that's gotten the virus, and people don't have that story, that experience like Felix does, where he knows someone, he has
Right.
that personal experience. The majority of the
Mhm.
population doesn't know someone that's been affected, or know someone that knows someone, and so I think that probably starts to play into like how we think about things, where they're like, well, I don't know anyone that got it. Is this a real thing? Why are we staying in the house so long? Why can't I go to work?
Yeah. But I don't have I know someone who know, like my wife knows a couple people that have had it, and I think a couple people that have died from it. But I'm just saying, like me personally, but like I don't know those people. Like I didn't meet those people through her, so like I don't have a personal connection with those people in that
Mm-hmm.
in that sense. But my wife knows. She's told me 4 or 5 stories that like she has a friend now that's a nurse that every day like can't can't really go home because if she has like a 2 year old daughter that she can't, and things like that. Like
Yeah, should have went there.
that all adds into yeah, that all adds into like what Peter was saying, easiness of just because it's the sense, right? Because like John's able to do all his stuff, decontaminating all his stuff in the garage and so on and so forth. But like there's this like underlying stress that we all have because we don't know, right? And you add that in, like listen, this I couldn't imagine going through this with kids. I'll be like my dog has driven me crazy enough. You know what I mean? Me and my wife we walk Drax probably 6 to 7 times a day for as long as possible just to get out of the house, just to do something. We debate on whether we want to go to the store that day or not. You know what I mean? Just to like
You
do
have a
something
dog?
different than just yeah.
Oh, you mean you and
Yeah, I
Mel?
have a dog.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Debating with the
Another
dog.
dog.
I was like,
Wait, sometimes I do.
wonder
Sometimes I gotta
now
sit him down. Like, hey,
who will
listen.
win.
No, the dog would win.
Yeah.
He's an aggressive pit bull that gets a little crazy. But yeah, man, like just you try to do things to keep you sane. And you're right, like there is that part. I have that bias where I have a very different situation. Like I'm able to walk my dog for 2 miles and not see a soul. Right? Like I don't there's never
Oh
any
yeah,
kind of
where you live.
interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you guys are 2 years have been in my house. John was supposed to. Like I don't feel that need, that rush to go out to the beach, but I understand it. I understand wanting to go out, but not abiding by putting yourself at risk isn't necessary in that moment. Like you can go, but if you see like 1,000 people there, like, you know what, maybe I'll come back tomorrow. It won't be as crowded. You know what I mean? Take a drive, like just try to do different kind of things. But again, I don't have young kids. I can't imagine what that must be like. You know what I mean? Like Felix, your daughters are older. You know what I mean? I'm sure you got to keep them entertained. So that's why we
Yeah,
do things like trivia night.
It's been really difficult in my house because I have 2 daughters. One's already an adult; she's 18, and it's been a constant struggle of keeping them home safe, and then her fighting for her independence.
Mhm.
You know, so it's
During
like,
the craziest time
I'm like,
in
dude,
history.
I'm all for you being independent. The sooner
Yeah.
the better is what I say. You know, because I'm already kind of like, all right, you know, it's time for you to leave. Go ahead. You know, I'm not here to stop anybody. But at the same time, you know, I'm her father. I'm like, dude, there's a lot of serious stuff going on, and I need to protect you. But most importantly, I need to protect myself, because you can get me sick, and I can definitely die from this thing, because I have asthma. I'm the type of person, I have to use my inhaler at least a couple of times a day. So if I get any kind of respiratory illness, it's going to be very difficult.
Right.
Not just corona or anything.
Right.
So I have to be vigilant.
When this thing starts running its course, and the jury still seems to be out, as far as I can see, whether or not people will develop enough antibodies to, develop this quote unquote herd immunity. So if you're in the kind of Felix, the kind of risk category that you're in, you can't play with that. No, absolutely not. It's life and death. You can't play with it.
It's funny you mentioned that, Peter, because I've already spoken to the person that I work for, my manager. I was like, look, man, after they say it's okay to go back out into public and the lockdown's over, I'm staying home for another 2-3 months. I'm not coming out. He was like, you do whatever you need to do to feel safe. And I already told my wife, if you can work from home for that time, it'd be better. And then everybody else because my daughter is going to go out to work. I was like, we're going to come up with a set of procedures that you're going to have to do to come home, and you're going to have to be at least semi-isolated in the house, which is kind of easier in my house because they got a pretty big house. And it's pretty.
What you're saying is really important, though, because you're taking matters into your own hand, regardless of what the government says.
Exactly.
Everyone needs to do that. Hope everyone that listens to it gets it through their thick skulls. You don't walk through life waiting for the government to tell you what to do. You got to gather information and do what you need to do to keep not just yourself but your loved ones. My mother is a cancer survivor.
She's also high risk.
Lung problem. Yeah, no, it would kill her.
Yeah.
So I've seen her twice and 10 feet away. I just came back from her house. I had to pick up some medicine that was delivered to her address, and we didn't get closer than 10 feet while I was over there. It was a very brief meeting, and then I left. And it's not because I don't love her; it's because I do love her. I can't get near her.
Yeah,
you probably haven't been tested, right? Neither have any of us, I'm guessing.
No.
It's possible that we have it, and we're that population that's asymptomatic, and we don't know we have it, and we never develop symptoms, but we are able to carry it and pass it on to other people that are vulnerable. So.
Well, I think those numbers are going to turn out to be shockingly high. Whatever projections are at, whenever they say so many people have been infected, my personal belief is you could probably multiply that by a factor of 10, and that'll be.
I was going to say 2 or 3,
reality.
But I could see 10. I can see 10.
You think of, and I agree with that, Peter. You think about it, right? Like, think about how impossible it is. Like, if you don't work in the medical field think about how impossible it is to, even if you do everything right? If you do everything right, if it's just as contagious as they say it is, where it stays in the air for 2 to 3 hours after, or if you're out in the open air, it's the 6 feet range is more like 30 to 6 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's impossible to be that alert at all times for something you can't see, right? For most people, and even those of us who actually think it's real and believe that it's a real virus, it's a real contagion, it's a real influenza, right? We none of us here are like deniers in that sense. Not that as far as I can see. But imagine for those people who don't believe any of it. Like I went to the store today to get like cat litter, dog food. I went to Rural King, love that store. It's my number one store. And there was tons of people in there with no mask, nothing. And my wife and I were in there with masks, and you could there's this part, and I talked about it before. There's this part where I'm feeling judged, right? Because I feel like they're looking at me like I'm a fucking moron for wearing these masks, but I'm also fucking morons for not wearing the mask. Because if you're in a
motherfucker walking in here like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, dude. Like, first of all, I got a big ass head, but the mask barely covers, so it's kind of awkward and goes with the bit. It's an uncomfortable situation. But yeah. So and again, Pete, you've seen where I live. You know where
Whoa. Everybody fell off. Jesus. Hold on 1 second. We are having technical difficulties. Bear with us. We are having a technical issues. We're gonna stay online until the three other guys get back online. I'm not sure what just happened. They just lost their connection. So I'm going to try to bring them back online. Although, you know, it wasn't a bad time for the connection to be lost. I for some reason the connection was lost. You guys dropped off for about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
6 feet, please, on the back. You could take a magic
That's
marker out and
okay.
do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But some people need to be reminded. And then if you get the off jerk, and there's always one that will read it and then step closer. You know, I think we're all big enough guys. You just turn around, tell them to back off, or you can hand them his friggin' teeth. I mean, what
Yeah,
else do
yeah.
you do? Give the alerts, do everything that you can. But you always got to realize there's always one person
Yes.
that's going to be a jerk.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
You guys were talking about the front, you know, the guys in the front lines, healthcare workers and things like that. And I mentioned this to Ben jokingly, right? That any healthcare worker, an LPN could just say, you know what? If you guys don't start following these social distancing rules and you make this curve that's flattened, if it spikes up again, we're all gonna unionize, and I want my salary to be X amount of dollars. I mean, a situation like this should in theory kind of give some of these whether it's people that work at the grocery store, whether it's healthcare workers, whether it's people that weren't really deemed essential until something like this happens. You would think it would give like employees some more strength to be able to kind of seek out benefits, employee protection, you know, things sort like pay increases, things of that nature.
Healthcare.
Well, I got an
Healthcare.
idea for you.
Yep.
You got this might light a fire for you, but the money that they're talking about withholding from the World Health Organization, I instantly told my wife and the mother Kathia that should go straight out to first responders. They should all get a pay raise and call it danger pay.
But it probably won't. It'll probably go to the rest of the corporation bailouts.
That would not fly well with anyone, liberal or conservative.
And
No, those first responders are heroes, and you know, in some cases, they're being asked to take pay cuts. Oh, hell no!
yeah, that's
Hell no.
crazy right now.
Yeah,
I don't. I think the one thing that true conservatives, right, can agree on, and liberals and progressives, however you want to label them, is the fact that this corporate bailout is absolute and utter bullshit, right? Like I agree with Felix. I don't think that money will go to the first responders or to. It's not even the first responders, right? The people working at McDonald's, Burger King, fast food places that give us those 7 minutes to get other food when we're tired of cooking at home. Like those people should have world hope that WHO isn't getting, right? Because that's already been done. Like absolutely, it should go to everybody who's working, and having forced deemed essential should come. And I agree with John. I know it's kind of like half drinking, but they should unionize. They should.
I think your AOL is acting up again.
robotic.
I think your AOL is acting up again.
Yeah, I think your AOL. check how taut the string is. If the cans are okay.
See if the little guy's still running. The little yellow guy.
It's the little sand clock right there, just rotating out.
Well, if you will, though, let me throw into the mix about corporations. I'm echoing again.
Whoa. Yeah. Let me disconnect and reconnect everyone again. I don't know what happened.
All right.
Bear with us. We'll be right back. This is starting to get old. All right, I got two of you guys back. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, there's no echo. Benjamin at some point will be back, but we can continue the conversation. I know you were about to say something, Peter.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, it's easy to clump everything into one category and call things big corporations, but you have to look at some of the industries that they're talking about. If they did what they did in 2008 and started bailing out banks, I think there would probably be a revolution in the streets. We played that game, and left and right, no one has a stomach for making, rich people richer right now. On the other hand, there are certain industries that are being decimated and are on life support. And if we allow them to close their doors, it's going to impact a lot of people. And I think, in part, the plans that the Democrats and Republicans have worked together to build is kind of a combination approach of handing out the $1,200 checks to individuals and all that. Small business loans that can be grants if they don't let people go. And then you have things like the airline industry, tourism. They're different industries that are going to require some help to get out of this. Now, one of the key things that I've heard in conservative circles is that they have been forbidden from taking stimulus money and buying their own stock in their own company, because they did that last time.
Yeah.
And so I think that we've learned some from the last. No one wants to see corporations get richer, but I think none of us could afford for some of these industries. The airline is just a great example to go belly up. When it's all over. So there's got to be a balance there somehow. And I think even though they're fighting, I think they are trying to do the right thing.
I'm good with cruises going under though. I don't mess with cruises anyway. So that's just the personal statement. Like I get.
Well, yeah, I have a big problem with us trying to bail out the cruising industry for the most part. Most of those ships don't even fly a U.S. flag or pay any U.S. taxes. So it's like, why are we even considering this?
Well, that's pure entertainment. People don't get around on boats. People do get around and move back and forth and do business on airplanes. That's just a fact.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I definitely disagree with
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm
getting any type of bailout money.
Yeah, cruises like it's like right. Like airlines are absolutely 100% essential for if you have traditional business travel, and you know what I mean. Like cruises are completely ancillary side piece of it. It's like if you don't want to fly but you want to spend the week, you know what I mean, in a boat. Cool, all right, that shouldn't deserve a bailout. But again, like it is that factor where who rely on that business, on those careers, on that jobs that they've decided for their life. But I mean, just the cruising industry is just.
You got to think of secondary and tertiary effects too on some of these industries. Airline again, a good example. I used to work before I got laid off for Oceaneering. We built rides, Spider-Man rides, the Indominus Rex. I was out in California recently installing that in Universal Hollywood, their Jurassic World. Well, I had to get on a plane to go there. The other rides that we were building were for Disney Paris and a whole bunch in China. Well, when that China travel ban took effect, boom, $187 million of that company was on hold. And the Chinese did what they do real well. They said, okay, fine, thanks. Well, thanks for the equipment. We'll do it ourselves. So they lost that contract. Disney Paris, they don't know when they're going to open up their doors, let alone air travel is going to normalize between countries. So it's not just an airline. It literally has put in. I don't think Oceaneering is going to make it, to be honest with you, because they're vested in entertainment, building rides for theme parks in the oil industry, which was also hit hard. But again, when we're looking at things, we want to be, big boys about it and pragmatic. Yeah. You got to look at not just the immediate too. You have to look at secondary and tertiary effects, because at the end of the day, it affects us as well, especially when you have industries that ripple through society.
Right. I mean, that's what happens. We become this globalization, I guess, and the effects. It's not just the U.S. Things that go on here affect, other businesses and other countries. We're so interconnected that it's not just what you see up front. There are other effects that we might not see now, and that's what those board members and CEOs are paid to do. But us as the public, we kind of just react. We have that knee jerk reaction of oh, we're bailing out the banks, or we're bailing out a cruise industry or the airline industry, and which is it's not. I think it's the appropriate reaction when people are getting $1,200, and there are tax loopholes for bigger corporations, but there are other effects, that we probably don't think about. You and I aren't concerned about, because we're just affected with how are we going to pay the bills, how are we going to keep the lights on.
Well, I got some good news for everyone. I don't know if you guys thought about this. I work in manufacturing, so I've thought about it a lot. But our eyes are open to how dependent we are, not just on particular goods coming from China in particular, but from other countries. But the discussion over what are crucial, considered in our national security interests, there are going to be a renaissance in manufacturing. That's my prediction. I'll stand by it 1,000%, because we're not going to, with pharmaceuticals in particular, we're not going to go back to that norm where we don't produce penicillin in the United States anymore. That never should have gotten like that. But I think the uptick in manufacturing is going to go a long way with helping rebuild the economy. Other parts of it probably won't recover. People who own restaurants that just don't have the ability to stay open. But I think there are going to be certain sectors in reaction to this that are going to do quite well. Not in the next couple months, but in the, let's say, next 6 months and year or so to come.
Yeah, I look forward to that manufacturing coming back. It's just realistically, I think it will be not as huge as an impact as we believe it's going to be, only because of automation.
Right.
So it's not going to employ like the numbers that employed before went overseas.
Well, it depends on what's being made. Like where
Yeah,
I'm working
for
now,
sure.
Laser Star. I'm building wire cable harness assemblies, and it's you can manufacture them in part, but there are certain components that that's adjusted from model to model, and I have to rework things. And a lot of it's automated. If they can buy parts that are already pre-built, done in a factory by a robot, even they'll do it like that. But there's always going to be a need for an increased skilled labor force. We're not going to make kazoos here. I don't think we're ever going to go. Those will always be made in China.
Yeah.
But things like medical equipment and things of that nature, that's where we'll see the uptick.
I saw it when I was right before I left the army, and I was at Fort Campbell my last couple of years. My last 6 months, I went through a Siemens certification course. So not essentially the folks that work on the assembly line, but the folks that work on the machines and the equipment and the robotics. So it was a really intensive course, 5-6 months, and you're learning not just you're in class for 8 hours a day, and learning everything from electronics to circuitry to I think we were learning programming language that Siemens uses. And so I got to see a lot of the automation that's going on, like firsthand, going to some of these factories that's going on in manufacturing. But yeah, I mean, and Tennessee is huge as far as manufacturing goes. There's equipment to manufacture everything, tiles, vehicles. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that gets done in the U.S. that we don't know about, or we don't think it's something that we manufacture. And Tennessee is one of those states that's big on manufacturing. Ohio is also relying on that. But at the end, I think it'll help, right? The build quality is only going to get better manufacturing here in the U.S. as opposed to having something manufactured in China. Now, we'll feel it as consumers because we'll probably end up paying more up front. But for better build quality, for something that's going to last longer, I think in the end it'll probably be in our best interest to bring manufacturing jobs back, to bring those jobs back to individuals. And even if it's not someone directly working the assembly line, again, it's 2020, so it'll allow us to train people like technicians to work on the equipment in these factories. So I mean, manufacturing has to come back, and the jobs may not
No,
look
no,
the
no.
same, but I
Put it in
think
the
the
garage
opportunities
now.
for people to be employed in manufacturing are there. I think hopefully it'll grow.
Sorry.
Well, and another one is I think our eyes got open with 5G, and they lost their ability to do business in England. The Chinese did. So they're going to be looking elsewhere for the technology to stand that country up to that capacity in the future. So when you look at stuff like that, well, who's going to step up? So far, the United States hasn't stepped up to the plate. There's a country in Scandinavia. I'm not sure if it's Finland or Sweden. That is the only other competition with manufacturing some of the hardware behind 5G networks. So I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. There are rays of hope out there. That doesn't mean we're not going to get clobbered. My heart breaks for people who own restaurants and bars and stuff like that, and the people who work in that industry. I have no idea how they get up off their knees.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough road ahead. I mean, I don't know how else to put it.
Let's be honest. A lot of these businesses are not going to come back.
Yeah.
I mean, your favorite restaurant, unless you've been ordering takeout from it right now, at least once a week, probably isn't coming back after this pandemic, this lockdown.
Yep.
Ben, were you saying something, Ben? Because I can't hear you. Which is how we like to have it anyway. We don't like to hear you, so just keep it on mute.
So Peter,
Still.
so
can't hear
I know you mentioned that you like how I was proactive about handling these things and not waiting for the government to take care of us. You're gonna really like. Ben knows that I've been on top of this since maybe January. This whole virus thing. We've in my house we've been preparing for it. We've been talking about what we were going to do for different case scenarios, and I wanted to show you something that I actually came up with in order to help me out in public when I go out.
Well, while you're pulling that up, you guys don't know this. Ben knows this, but I was a readiness specialist. Hey, there you go.
So what I did here is I took a CPAP mask
Mm-hmm.
and I purchased a bunch of HEPA air conditioner filters that are MERV 13 rated, and I cut up the filter and I clipped them on to the mask there, and now I have a functioning.
Well, you know what I
I
like
think
about
it's better
that
than
too?
an N95 mask.
That you
And I
covered
got my
your
goggles.
eyes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's real important. People, I mean, almost every hole in our bodies in our face, and the amount that people pick at their eyes, it's just a natural thing. So you've covered up your nostrils, your eyes, and your mouth. Not a lot of other ways in. So if you disinfect real well when you're done, you've got it about covered, unless those things can crawl inside your ears.
So what I do when I get home is I go down before I put it on and I leave wherever I'm going. I spray it with Lysol all over. I put it on, and then I put my goggles on. I don't put gloves anymore. I just wherever I stop, I just use my hand sanitizer and whatever. I don't take off that mask until I get back home. And after I wash my hands at home really good, then I take off the mask. I spray it with Lysol again, and then I spray the goggles, and then I put them away in a safe place.
It's funny you said that about gloves, because just yesterday it dawned on me that I have a pair of gloves in the car, and it's like the third time I've worn them. And it's like, well, that doesn't do any good. I mean, if I touch something with it on my hand, and I've turned it inside out because, they're latex gloves, and then put my hand and say, well, I've just infected my hand, so I might as well just use like you're saying, the hand sanitizer. Yep.
Then I got this thing that I clip on my belt loop on my pants, and I keep everywhere, and I just refill every time it gets halfway.
Yep. Hey, all you can do is all you can do, right?
Yeah, I think I've been pretty prepared for a few months. And it's crazy because where I was working, again, I told Ben and John, on our floor, the bathroom was out of commission. So I was freaking out. I was like, this is crazy. The situations that they're putting us in. This is going to travel here like crazy if it ever gets here. I was like, I need to start working from home as soon as possible. Actually, I started working from home 2 days 2 days earlier before our company decided everyone worked from home.
So one of the things that I do that may help people who work outside of the house is, sometimes folks have to come inside the room that I'm in to get a wire or a part because it's kind of the electronics room. So I just make sure I cough a couple times when they come in, and it shortens the trip.
Yep. So we've been pretty prepared over here. I got my cousin right now. I don't want to shameless plug. She's actually makes face masks.
Good.
And no, it's great. But like I told you, I've been researching this for months. So I'm like, so what's the MERV rating on these masks? And she's a biologist. She was like, you know about that? I was like, dude, I know a lot about a lot of stuff lately. I'm like a wealth of useful and completely useless information at the same time. But this is particularly one that I've been researching about for a very long time.
Well,
she was like, well, the MERV rating is only 8. I was like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. But I'll still take it and put my own filter in it. So I got to order some.
While you guys got me on, I was a readiness specialist for about 10 years. And I actually know a good deal about some of the government plans, continuity of operations. It's called COOP. And the plans that they had for pandemic influenza. So if you guys had any questions about, are things working the way they should, and anything about FEMA and the relationship with the federal government and states and stuff like that, I mean, to me, those are pretty easy topics. So if you had any questions about that, I can lay it out in short order for you. I don't know what your conceptions are of how things work, but I just throwing that out there. That's an area of knowledge that I can contribute to your discussion here.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, I know you want to say something. I still can't hear you, or unless the issue is on my end. Maybe you want to exit and then reconnect. But yeah, Peter, absolutely. If you want to, I guess, give us like the 50,000 foot level overview of how it works, I'm all for it.
So when you're talking about the government response to things, one of the plans that comes up is called COOP, and it entails the continuity of operations. What that means is there is key infrastructure in our government that has to go on functioning in order for our federal government and our nation to avoid collapsing. For example, I don't know if you think about this, but what happens if you have severe outbreaks at power plants and the lights start going out? Well, your ventilators aren't, well, they would have generators, but anyhow, they have a tiered approach to how they react to things like that. Embedded in that is there's powers vested in the federal government to unlock funding. You hear that all the time with hurricanes when they declare, states of emergency. It activates FEMA and all these things happen. Well, for the most part, it's in support of making sure that our key infrastructure in our country keeps going. So what does that mean now? It means power plants. It means our food distribution system. It means our transportation system, our highways, our vehicles, our medical preparedness. That was the one that was being tested, the most in New York City. So they have tier plans to where they'll crank up the volume of how much the federal government will get involved. So then you have FEMA. If you guys know or don't know, they operate in regions. Right now it's nationwide. All the FEMA regions have been activated. So what the federal government does is it works through the regional coordination centers in FEMA. And if you have problems, let's say like in New York City, they'll lobby to the federal government and bring those needs to make sure that key critical infrastructure doesn't go south on them. So that's the 50,000 foot view. Most people think, well, why didn't the federal government do this, or why didn't this do this and that do that? Because that's how it works. And when they're looking at it apolitically, when they're looking at it, and when you're talking about activating FEMA and even looking at continuity of operation plans, is they're very well aware of where they can't afford to stumble or fail.
Wow. Yeah. And you know, I'm familiar with the response at my agency and how we have to react to certain events. We have our own, I guess, SOP for how we're gonna respond. We have teleworking agreements if we're gonna for employees that are deemed essential.
Uh
How
huh.
they're gonna work from home. Ben, was that you? I think I finally heard you.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, that was me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but
All right, we're good.
yeah, but I think it's a great explanation of how, because not everyone understands. We all kind of clamor for the federal government needs to get more involved. They need to do more, and then when the government does more, we say, well, you're doing too much. You need to let the states and the governors make decisions based on the situations in their area of operations in their states. So it's a catch-22, right? We ask for more, and then we want the federal government to pull back. But it's a little bit more complicated than just get involved and give us more money.
Yep.
Again, you have to look at the. And I'm trying to talk off the top of my head, but just think probably the best to wrap your head around is power and water.
Yeah.
In 2020, you lose those two things, or even ability to communicate. So, communications, power, and water. Those three things right there. That it's not an option to fail. So the federal government would expend whatever resources necessary to prevent that from happening. But beyond that, they're not going to get involved in places where there aren't emergencies or where they don't need to. Where they get involved is if it looks like one of those legs of the stool starts faltering, then they start activating plans to stand them back up again. And we're lucky; most countries don't have. Sweden's a very good example. They don't have preparedness plans or readiness plans. Everyone goes, well, Sweden did this and Sweden do that. Well, talk to Swedes. And I got a YouTube from one guy in particular. He said, we're reacting the way that we're reacting because we never had a plan. So feel lucky that we do.
Weren't Swedes kind of just still going on about their normal day-to-day business for quite some time?
Yep.
Yeah, because they weren't being affected, and not every country was affected by the coronavirus the same way as other ones. So I think they just saw it as business as usual.
Yeah, they got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it came down to. Yo, Felix, man,
Yeah.
you gonna have to shave your head again.
You're gonna what?
Sorry, you're gonna have to shave your head again already. It's already growing back in, bro.
It's funny because when I normally get a haircut, I get like a skin fade.
Yeah.
And after she's done with this part, fading this part, she'll give me a shave, and at the end she'll go like this. She's like, "What the hell? I just shaved there like 10 minutes ago. You already have hair there. What's going on?" I'm telling you, man, it's like that fast.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse.
No, definitely. No, but Pete, that's really interesting, man. I just wanted to point that out because I've been staring at Felix. And I was like, yo, that shit is already growing back.
You already see it right here. Look.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, it's interesting when you break it down like that because a lot of people don't know that, right? I think that's been one of my biggest like issues with this whole thing is like the lack of knowledge of understanding that obviously like you with your 10 years of experience with readiness and stuff like that, but I think there hasn't been, maybe I've missed it, that press conference where that type of stuff is laid out for the mass of people. Like, look, these are what things are supposed to do. This is what this department does. This is what this department does. I think that lack of communication, that lack of information, is what's led to a lot of these things, right? Because if you just say, "Hey, you got to stay home," okay, but why do I have to stay home? What goes in? What is being done while we're staying home? What's being worked on? And you have a better understanding, have that information. You know what I mean? Like you have it, and like John and myself, like being prior military, have an understanding of SOPs and things like that, and so on and so forth. But the mass population doesn't, right? So that when they're being just told to stay home, this is why you got to stay home. Of course they're going to rebel. Like even today, they were doing a protest in Colorado. Because people aren't being given the full information, be it that lies at the feet of the media and the government, be it state, local, and federal. Because at no point I haven't seen one, and maybe I'll chop it up to maybe perhaps my own ignorance on that, because it gets overwhelming to see DeSantis' press conference and then my local mayor or my local representative's press conference, and then Trump's press conference, and be it, Republican and Democrat aside, like it gets to be too much because they're throwing. It seems to me like they're throwing in their own political perspective on that. I just want somebody to lay it out black and white. Look, this is why you have to stay home. This is what could happen. I feel like that hasn't been like pushed through people's, pushed down people's throat enough to understand when it's just like when you just hear, man, you got to stay home. Sorry, you can't work. Sorry, you got laid off. Hey, you got to stay home. Like that's what's being pushed so much where it becomes like a hashtag, and it's not being talked about more as to like why you have to. You got to give people the why. You can't just, because I don't follow blindly anything. Huge problem why I probably didn't last as long in the military. I don't fly, like if I had a shitty NCO, I had issues. It's been well stated. Jonathan already put me on. I'm blessed. I fought an E7 before. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't my E7, but he was an E7. It was in first of all, he was in civilian clothes. I didn't know he was an E7. I didn't willingly fight an E7. My bad. E7 is kind of like the regional manager, like the store manager of a store. You know what I mean? Like not the assistant. He's like he leads the shit. So just kind of give you that reference. I was like, if an employee fought the store manager is what I did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my store manager. It was like if I went into Costco and the store manager gave me some shit and I whooped his ass. That's kind of how it went down.
Well, to what you said though, Ben. If they did an overview like I just gave you, and I myself would avoid getting beyond generalities. And by the way, there are plans for civil unrest as well. There's plans for all that stuff.
Everything.
It's kind of a boring subject, but I think it's worthy of doing. Where you get in trouble is you don't want to tip your hand if you are exhibiting a weakness or you're showing a vulnerability. You don't want to broadcast that to people who would want to take advantage of it, like Russians or pick your enemy.
Yeah. Right.
So the information you would get would always be very watered down, generic, watery, to the point where if they would have to, they would lie to you. And work on it behind the scenes, and that part does take a lot of trust in your government to do that. But I think maybe that's why that most people haven't got the one over the world briefing on be at ease. We have plans for all this stuff. We always have. Right. We got this. Here's how it works. Well, they probably don't want people asking questions. So how is our water supply, or how is, or then they're put in a position where you get a reporter pressing for an answer, and you might expose a vulnerability.
Right. Now, I never think, and you're right. There's always like a matter of security with that. But it doesn't have to be to the minutia level where it breaks down every analytical point of it. But just like, hey, look, guys, I know everybody's freaking out. This is what's going, and just kind of like give like a one sentence thing of like what's happening. Like just give them crumbs, right? Never the whole steak, or never the whole sandwich, right? Like you just gotta give them little, but just enough to like calm people down, so you don't have things like this where there's always gonna be people. There's always gonna be that one person, which turns out to be now thousands of people that are just not gonna believe it and protest together and do all these things and just completely throw out all recommendations or guidelines, right? Because none of these are orders, right? Like these are all kind of guidelines and so on and so forth. So you just kind of go from there, but it doesn't make sense to me to not be given a little bit more information over the thing that's being over consumed by everybody. Is like, oh, you got to stay home, man. You got to stay home. Because then that leads into a panic. Like, oh my God, every time I leave my door, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna die. So on and so. Like, it has to be. Look, you got to stay at home for these reasons. These are the reasons why you should stay home.
Have you guys heard of Operation Jade Helm?
I thought you were going to say paperclip. I was like, shit, yeah. No, sorry.
No.
Jade Helm. No. It happened about 3 or 4 years ago, and Special Operations was doing an exercise with FEMA, and it had to do with civil unrest and things of that nature. Oh my God! When look it up when this is done. When the news got a hold of it, all the tinfoil sombreros came out, and there were people who had special forces marching, citizens into FEMA detention camps and giving people viruses through inoculations, black helicopters. So The other part of this reason I bring that up is there's an element of society. If you tell them something reasonable and rational, and it was a reasonable and rational exercise, by the way, but you could tell them something like that, and you just think Alex Jones. They're going to come
Right.
up with, to him that's his bread and butter. He hears something like that, and he's going to run with it. Why? That's how he sells his vitamins.
Yeah. His
Right, or like
his
David
corona
Icke, the guy from England, who
I didn't even
who's
know he
the one
sold
pushing
vitamins.
5G created coronavirus.
Yeah, there's always gonna be those snake oil salesmen, right? That try to sell you on anything. Actually, Peter, you bring it up when you explained it. I did hear about that because I remember like on my social media about Operation Jade Helm on my social media, people sharing those same things like, oh, they're gonna take over Texas. Look at all these military vehicles coming in. I was like, hey man, that's just a military exercise. And Texas has like 1,000 military bases because it's basically its own country. Calm down, but it was just like black helicopters, and they're gonna Americans. Like, what the hell's going on right now?
Yeah. And
What,
actually,
like-
let me correct
yeah, because-
myself. This is important. It wasn't operation; it was exercise. The Jade
Oh,
Helm.
okay.
So
Right.
let's not call that an operation.
So you
Right.
just contributed to the vitamin sales.
we just gave Alex Jones more listeners. Hopefully, nobody who listens to my podcast or watches it, our podcast, listen, dude, listen to something else, bro. This ain't the one for you. This ain't the one.
No, and Alex Jones was out there protesting with some of these people. I don't know if it was in Michigan or I don't think it was
San
Ohio,
Antonio.
possibly Michigan, San Antonio.
Oh, San Antonio.
Yeah, that's where he is out of.
So
Oh, I didn't even. Texas makes sense. Texas makes sense.
I listen to him
Oh,
from
yeah.
time to time. He's entertaining. For those that don't know the backstory to Alex Jones, he was the one who blew the lid off the Bohemian Grove thing. Again, if you don't know these things, you got to look him up. Everyone said he was crazy at the time, and lo and behold,
He
he
proved
brought
it,
a yeah, he was right. But even a broken clock is right twice a day.
right.
So
Yeah.
he's run with it like he's this person who's right all the time, and it's like, oh, you've been right a
Right.
couple times. No, you're not right on chemtrails. I go through a list of things he's not right on, but he definitely will step out with boldness and make wild predictions. And you know what? Every once in a while, he's right. He's entertaining to listen to, but it's like I watch RT as well, not because I'm a Russian spy or anything, but I know what the source is. I know how to take when I'm listening. It's Russian propaganda.
Right.
I get good information out of that. I get information out of RT that I won't get anywhere else because they have different interests and are willing to talk about things in a certain lens that you can glean a lot of information out of, particularly when Syria was in full swing. And a lot of debate was going on that. I was very interested in hearing their point of view. Why? I just had to know where it was coming from, and I could filter the rest myself. So same thing
Right.
with Alex Jones and any news source. You can listen to anything as long as you have the right filters on.
As long as you know what's being who the messenger is and things like that. And you bring it in.
Me
critically.
personally,
But I think
I listen. I listen to CNN a lot, but as soon as they put on people that are giving their own opinions, I shut it off because like, all right, I don't need your opinions. I can pretty much give me the facts, and I'll form my own opinion on that.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
the way
we
I like
talk
to do
about
it.
that a lot.
Yeah, once you have
Yeah. As soon as I get those little talking heads that show up like we're doing in these four squares, I'm like, all right, whoop, time to turn that
Time
off.
to go.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
it's
don't
just
turn this
interesting,
podcast
right?
off. Don't turn this
No,
podcast
don't do
off.
that.
that's not news. That's not news. That's just opinions, and we could do that all day too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting to watch a
doing
news
it.
event.
And it's better that we do it because really, we don't really have any vested interests.
True.
Well, at least
Right.
I don't. Whether it
No,
goes
I
one
don't.
way or the other, you know what I mean? Because kind of most of the things that they give in the news very rarely ever affects me, except for this Corona thing.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I like to watch the news. I think
like,
it's
wait a
affecting
minute.
everyone. But it's
Yeah, so-
I watch the news from different sources because
Mm-hmm.
that one news event is going to be reported 4, 5, 6 different ways depending on
Mhm.
what source you're watching, what their interests are. And so to me it's funny that it gets to the point where I don't even consider it news anymore. We have a news event and that one story is reported one way by CNN, another way by Fox. Then if you go to the far left, like the what is it called? Not ProPublica, but The
MSNBC.
Intercept, and then
Yeah.
Mother
Breitbart,
Jones. Yeah.
and everyone has their
Yeah.
own take and their own spin on it, and so like Peter said, you have to kind of use your own filter and your own common sense. Even though it's not that common, to kind of filter through everything and the garbage and the noise to get to the heart of the issue.
Now, I do have a suggestion for you. If you guys want to get a very good news source out of Europe, and this is only in Europe, there's a website called thelocal.com. And what it is, it's people from various countries inside Europe that write articles about their country in the English language. It's very well put together. It's not political in the sense that we would recognize. It may be for their country, but they talk about all sorts of things. I went to the Italian one and I forwarded it to my mother because there was an article about if you were of Italian descent, how you could apply for and obtain an Italian passport. And there was a whole article about that. They talk about the coronavirus and what measures they're taking. They talk about everything. But the neat thing is, it's not the meat grinder of Republican and Democrat talking heads just smashing, facts and, their version of things against each other. But if you wanted to know what was going on in Europe, it's an excellent site to go to. It has a nice wide range. I wish our news was more like that here. If I found a website like that, I'd go to it. The closest I've come to is Quillette. They have very good articles in there that hit across the spectrum, but we don't have a lot of choices in this country. Everything is just high strung and ready to fight. Unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
No, they do. There is I have to look it up. There's a website called All Sides. So if you want to see all the different sides and how it's reported, it's allsides.com, and it shows you the left, center, right center, and far right news publications, and you'll see an article, and then you'll see the article from all those sources, so you can kind of read how everyone is reporting it from all points of view. So it's I think that's what I've been using for the last few months to kind of filter through the message that's the news, if you want to call it the news. Sometimes it's more entertainment than news, but it's a pretty good site to do that. All Sides, and I think mediabias.com.
Yeah, but you're still getting this list of left wing and that list of right wing, where the two I cited there, they actually, there's actually journalism involved. They'll pick a story and they're well written too, especially in Quillette, and they go into a very long, well written dissertation on whatever the topic is. That I wish we would see more of. I'd like to see more news that wasn't, about coronavirus too. There's a hell of a lot in the world going on right now besides that, but good luck finding it. It's just, it's hard.
That's true.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with local journalism being decimated.
And I watch the local news. I kind of like it because it tends to be less political. They are conscious of pissing off half their viewing audience. So they tend to be a lot more balanced, and plus the local stories are actually news. They're telling you, well, not anymore, but there's a concert coming up, or
what is notable for you specifically because you live in that area.
Yeah.
It's a good comment. John, you got anything else?
Notable events and weather and sports.
That's what it means.
I do. I have something that just came up that was kind of some weird news, I guess.
Oh, here we go. I know exactly what this is. I know. As soon as you make that face, I know exactly what this is. Pete, get ready to be.
I like when he shares the screen. We all turn blue.
We all look like
we've been smurfed.
Can you guys see this?
Yeah. Is that your underwear?
Let me see if I make it a little bit more. There we go. Can you guys see that now?
Yeah.
All right.
So stupid.
This is out of England. Again, it's a reliable news source as far as I know.
That's
Let me
at
read
the
it out
bottom
loud.
of them.
So this is out of England. I can't remember where out of the UK, but let me read this. A man who was making a visit to the supermarket to get some essential groceries for his 83-year-old ma'am has responded to claims that he was wasting shop workers' time yesterday by purchasing underpants. Staff and customers of the Tesco Superstore on Beverly High Road in Hull, East Yorkshire, looked on in disbelief as 56-year-old Mike Woodson calmly emptied 15 packs of underpants onto the checkout conveyor belt and stood ready with his cash. Checkout operator Monica Spew asked, "Are these essential items, sir?" Woodson answered that they would be at some point in the future. A security guard was called and escorted Mr. Woodson from the premises and to the edge of the car park. Later, Woodson said, "They didn't have what me ma'am wanted, and I saw the underpants. They were the briefs type with the inverted Y at the front, which is the kind I like. The elastic in the waistband seemed like good quality."
Oh, he's using them for face masks.
I'm not sure what he's using. We're about to find out. The elastic in the waistband seemed like good quality, as did that in the leg holes. That's important to me, as the elastic in some underpants goes slack at the leg holes. And when my neighbor pops around to see me, ma'am, and I sat watching TV in me undies, they can see me meat and two veg poking out of the leg hole. So, he wants to be able to keep his package packaged.
Well, the Army years ago, I don't know if they still make them, but they used to issue brown underwear. Maybe that would help them out.
Oh my god!
Oh, I remember those.
When I was in, they still did. When I'm sure John was in before me. Yeah, they still gave us brown underwear.
Oh my
It's
god!
practical.
Yeah, it was like a cardboard.
Like
It was
very-
like
this is like
the
brand
feeding
new-
of the
Like cardboard.
This is brand new information
Yeah, they-
for me. It's like brown underwear for
dude. And
having
imagine,
shit stains,
and then
right?
brown underwear.
because nobody's
like, in
out
case you
there
shit
like
your pants.
camouflage in their
Yeah.
underwear only.
Yeah, and this is legitimate, by the
Never-
way. This is legitimate news. This
Oh,
is
wow.
this is for real.
Oh, I thought this was
No.
one of the fake ones. I was like-
Not at all. I mean, did
Yeah,
that
but-
look like it was fake to you?
I don't know.
If-
I didn't have a chance to verify.
You know what? I'm gonna go with it. Somebody at some point in the last 5 weeks has absolutely bought 15 packs of underwear, right? Because if they bought all that toilet paper, let's say they ran out of toilet paper, they gonna need a fresh one every day. They're gonna need a fresh one every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, man,
man.
I've been home and I don't use much toilet paper anymore because if the situation gets really bad, I just hop in the shower.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
said that from the beginning of, okay, so we're all home.
yeah, why
we
you
ran out of
toilet paper?
I mean, who doesn't have a
Just take a
shower right
shower.
next to the toilet? Take two
Right.
steps to the left, turn the water on. Yes, toilet
What?
paper is
Yeah.
preferred, but the world's not going to end.
So you got
Your
to
water
go
bill
in
might
there,
go up.
splash a little water, rub it out, and dry it off, and you good as new. You don't even have to wash your whole body, really.
Now, there was a run on bidets in Amazon.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I was gonna get one.
Amazon's crazy. Sewing machines are completely almost sold out on Amazon. Point now where like only like the $500 sewing machines are because everybody's making their own masks. Like there's a run on things that had never been a run on before. So it's crazy.
Ben, your
Yeah.
mom's
Hey, John,
knitting them, and
Yeah,
she
Mom,
makes them in just the right shape that the cone-shaped coffee filters fit inside.
That's a good.
Yeah,
that's a
my
good idea.
mom's been crocheting masks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still
She's
waiting
good
on
at
mine, but it's fine. Yeah, she made one for the
Yeah, I
dog, but it's
I gotta order some that my cousin makes because I'm gonna use them and get I'm gonna get, like I told you, I had to buy a box of those air filters, 6-pack, because they don't sell
Yeah.
them singles. And I was like,
Yeah.
damn, I only need one. I was like, so I know you gotta buy all 6. I was like, shit, this survival shit's getting expensive.
I'm just trying to live.
I'm just
I'm
trying to
just trying to
live.
live.
So I'm like, damn, this is getting expensive, man. But yeah, I had to buy the whole box. And
Yeah, hey,
I'm gonna use them. These are some of the masks that she makes.
you gonna share them out? I want to see them.
You want to see them? Oh, I share my screen. Can
Yeah.
you see it? That's one of
It's
them.
coming.
That's one of them there.
John still has his screen share. We're still blue.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, let me change it real quick. My
All right, right there. This is one of them. And that's her page. Toy by me on Facebook.
Oh, those are good. Those are solid.
Yeah, no, I
There you
mean, like I told you, by day she's a biologist. So, but I think she's home now. And so this is what she's been spending her time doing.
Cool.
Pretty stylish. I mean, I just want to go in there and put my filter in it.
Yeah.
Because she says that she has filters that you can replace them. They slip in. So then I was like, I got my own filters. I just need them. I was like, and I have a sewing machine. I was just like, I'm not going to do as good a job as this.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to get her to like.
I saw a picture
her
of a
for
guy
some.
that was in a Facebook group for ex-Green Berets from years and years and years ago. Anyhow, he was just joking around, but he had 2 red plastic straws that he had stuck up his nose, and they went out like this, and he'd wrapped the rest of his head with saran wrap. I thought that was. I would love to see him go shopping with that.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did.
I've seen people. You know how they do though that what's that webpage called? People of Walmart. You ever looked at that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, they have a Corona edition, and I saw one guy there that had a whole plastic bag wrapped around his head. I said, "Well, he ain't gonna die of Corona, that's for sure." He might suffocate to death, but he ain't. But he's not gonna die of Corona.
Listen, man, that's Darwinism right there. But sometimes you just gotta let him go.
You know, I was in California not too long ago, and one of the things that I noticed in Walmart is the plastic bags, not just Walmart, but I first encountered it in Walmart, are thick. They're like 10 times as thick as the bags that we get here, and you got to pay for them. And they're, great. I mean, you could use them, reuse them, wash them down. Of course, they're rethinking that now where they're disposables better in this environment. But I don't know if you've ever been to California or states that have those big, thick bags, but it's different. It's
Just
supposed to be able to last
when we
for
go to
100 years.
Aldi's. When we go to
yeah,
Aldi's.
like the Aldi's bag. It's like 10 cents for one of those reusable bags. And
I get those
they're
bags.
They're thicker.
Oh,
And I always buy
like
the
that,
cheapest
then.
ones. I always buy the cheapest ones and I reuse them. And they always try to recharge. I was like, no, lady, I brought these from my house. I was like, you can't charge me for these again. Like, look, this is already used. Let me show you. It's like it's wrinkled. This already has like 4 or 5 trips on it. This is my bag from my house.
I'm trying to keep these 8 cents.
Yeah, because a lot of people buy the cloth ones. I'm like, just buy the cheap ones.
Yeah, we have our own bags. We take our own bags. We don't use disposables.
See, I don't know what is better, plastic or cloth. If you go shopping, it's best not to touch the dang hand carts and the hand baskets, whatever you call it. I mean, the less that you touch that someone else could have touched, the better. But it got me to thinking, what's better to bring out in public? Would it be a plastic bag, or would it be, those cloth bags that you take home and you can wash and all that?
I think it would be the cloths, but only if you're washing them after every trip. Because if you're not washing them after every trip, then it's like,
what's the point? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
no.
One of the first things I went over with Desiree, my daughter, when I went shopping with her, right out of the gate, I was like, okay, you're going to have to discipline yourself. You're used to walking up to, seeing 5 different types of mayonnaise, picking them all up, reading them, and putting them back on the shelf. Said, so now what you need to do is look at it from where you're standing, make your mind up, pick it up, put it in your bag, and move on. If you touch something 3 times, you've increased the odds of you contracting something exponentially by the time you've gotten done shopping for all the different things that you're shopping for. If you touch it just once, you're reducing risk by a lot.
That's a good point, Peter. I think they should start lining things up in 2 rows in the supermarket. one with the nutritional value facing out, and one with their
There you go.
labels facing out.
Yeah.
To help
That's a good
eliminate a
point.
lot of the.
That's a really
But
good
you
point.
know, they're
We
not
got
going to do
behind
that.
one
They
lady.
they spend a lot of money on them labels.
We
They're
got
not gonna
behind
do
one
that.
lady. We got behind one lady in Winn-Dixie. She was in one of those powered carts. So now she's right up against the meat aisle. And I kid you not, she pawed through every single package of meat that was in there. She had to pick it up, look at it, turn it around, put it down, and she went down the entire row. So I ended up
Jesus.
getting just a bag of chicken and, you know, washed the hell out of the bag when I got it home. But I'm thinking, now that's exactly how this crap spreads. And just
Yep.
absolutely oblivious. I mean, when I said she pawed everything, she pawed everything. I was going to say something to her, but it was like, yeah, it ain't going to do any good. I just end up getting another argument.
But lady, is it worth
that's-
saving
gotta
30
avoid-
cents to like give everybody Corona? Because there's not much difference when you're looking at the meats. But you know what's funny? People who know me like intimately know that I like to save money. So that could possibly be me sometimes. So I'll go through all of them usually, but not now. But before,
in her defense, in her defense, because she was in the wheelchair, she didn't have the top-down view maybe to see all the prices.
Oh, okay, yeah. So she had to pick them
Yeah,
up.
so she would have to
Maybe.
grab them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that was
Thank
my first lesson out of the gate going shopping with my daughter is you can reduce, you know, exponentially your risk by just picking it up once, putting it in the bag, and then when we get it home, it goes in the garage. Meat, you know, gets wiped down, goes in the refrigerator. Everything else, we don't have to drag it in the house, leave it in the garage.
Yeah,
That
what
right
I've been
there
doing
just-
for the last few weeks, I've been doing Instacart.
Yeah, I've been doing the same.
So
thing.
I've been paying somebody to get my groceries. And honestly, I feel like I'm saving money because usually when I go to the supermarket, I'm kind of hungry. So I'm buying all types of stuff I know I shouldn't be buying.
Yeah.
You know, crazy cookies and cakes and stuff like that. It's like, I don't buy any of that stuff anymore. And it's just, now we're getting exactly what we need. So really, it's, people think you're probably spending so much money. I was like, nah, not much money on Instacart. It's probably about evened out because I'm not buying a lot of junk food like I used to.
Yeah, so
I think
Pete,
I'm
if you don't
spending
know,
more money.
if you don't know about Instacart, it what does it do? It shops at like all the grocery stores you normally shop at, right? Like it shops at Target, Publix,
Yeah,
all those places where it
Target,
does all the shopping for you.
Publix, Sam's Club. It does Aldi's. It does CVS. There's a few of them, and
Yeah.
then you can either go pick up your groceries. They'll have them. You can roll up. They'll give you a time, and you roll up in there in your car. You give them your name or whatever, and then all you got to do is pop the trunk. You don't even got to get out and talk to them. Pop the trunk. They'll put it right in your trunk, and you drive away, or they'll drop it off right in front of your door. And what I do is before they even get here, I'm like, hey, just leave it at the front door. And once you're all done with leaving on the back, ring my bell, and I'll go out there like 5 or 10 minutes later after all the droplets have fallen to the
faded away.
ground.
Subsiding.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then we start cleaning them and stuff. And it's actually brought our family closer together because we really don't have many activities that we do as a family.
yeah,
But except for the cleaning of the groceries now.
you got to do that, man.
Everybody knows. All right, we got a job. Unfold the table. Get the paper towels and the spray and.
Wipe it all down.
Mm-hmm. So now it's
Yeah.
like a whole.
It's been bad. It's been bad for me because Instacart we order, and then because of everyone else using Instacart and services like that, you have to schedule your drop off 4 or 5 days later. And so
Yep.
between the time that I order and the time that it's delivered, I'm like, oh, you know what? We could use this. Oh, hey, you know what else we need? We could use that. And my wife's like, you know what? This is a bad
You
idea.
keep adding stuff.
We're gonna run the bill up to like $200-$300 when it should have been just like $80 worth of groceries.
Yep. Same thing here. That's why I try to keep hitting refresh. Man, let's refresh until that. That's what I read, that if you keep hitting refresh, there'll be a delivery window that'll pop up sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the one I usually do. So I don't have to keep adding stuff to the cart.
Look at that. You learn something. Listen to this podcast. Hit refresh.
Yeah, but then now if everybody's doing it, you're gonna mess it up for me. So
Yeah.
hopefully-
Yeah, you are.
Well, you guys want to affect each other because John's in Ohio and Felix, you're in Pinellas
okay.
Park. That's so we're all good. We're all in different areas of the state and the country. But yeah, man, it was a great conversation. Loved having you guys on. Peter, as always, man, thank you so much for coming on. Felix,
pleasure.
you're always on, so you're kind of the third host sometimes on the show, man. So it was a great conversation. I learned a lot, man. The Coop stuff was really interesting, and that whole process. Like you just having that 10, 15-minute segment on here, I learned more than I had, you know what I mean, on any press conference done by any governor or mayor or senator or president or anything. So I appreciate that, man. This is, like I always say, this is what I always want the podcast to be about. It's just people from having a conversation, and that it doesn't have to become adversarial, never has to become demeaning, just people learning each other's point of view and stuff like that. So I really appreciate having you on, man.
It was fun. Thank you for having me.
Nice talking to you, Peter.
You too.
Felix, good to have you again.
Nice
We'll
talking
have you again on, bro.
Talk to you later, guys.
All right.
All right.
You got anything for the people?
No, man. Thank you. Appreciate you guys coming on. It was great that we kept this apolitical, and it was just a conversation from
Yep.
all sides. Other than that, I apologize. My camera is not on. It's frozen, and right now it looks. If I put it back on, it looks like a picture of Big
Look
Brother.
angry.
I'm just staring intently at
Yeah.
like
He's
I'm
not
watching
blinking.
all the video feeds from all over the U.S. trying to spot someone that's not following the rules. So I
You look
just
like
took
Eagle
it
Eye.
off the screen.
You look
Yeah, I
like
thought you were
Eagle Eye
just
out
being very disciplined.
here. I was like, why is this guy not blinking at all? Like shit. He's not-
It's kind of scary. Big Brother's always watching. No, but thank you guys for coming again, and hopefully we'll do it again sometime soon.
Absolutely.